sources. So during the prehistoric time, it was completely, we have to adopt the idea, we have to compromise with the condition, situation and circumstances that were based on probability. That is one thing. That is what? Probability. Everything apart from the historical resources, archaeological resources, that has to be banked upon with again the probability, and possibility was the fact regarding that. So in the light of single-handed, in the light of one-handed sources, we got learn the ideas of all our cultural activities, all our what we can say that social, cultural, architectural activities in the form of painting, in the form of craft, in the form of tool, in the form of painting. So from a multifacets ideas and ways, we gather a large number of information regarding the evolution and the basis of our cultural traditions and system. The second part, under which I have concluded about Indus Valley civilization and the cultural growth and cultural development during the Indus Valley civilization. You also got to know about detailed things in my lecture, delivered interactive sessions. Again, that was an era. That was a fully organized system. That was a fully organized setup. But in that organized setup, in that organized system, we lacked again one important part that regulates the complete system, and lack of deciphering the language, the script which were exposed to, which were in the practice during the Indus Valley civilization. Language prevailed, script prevailed, and even we were also able to recognize them, that it is pictographic, and on the basis of pictographic the description has been made. So only again probability must be the one part of it. After the switching over, after completion of Indus Valley civilization, the era, historical age era, date, events arises. It was again the early Vedic age. Vedic age was segregated into two major sections. One is early Vedic age, another one is later Vedic age. In the early Vedic age, the advent of, or evolution of, emergence of, or came to the prominence of all the Vedas, Rigved, Samved, Yajurved and Atharveda, all came to prominence, and all exposes so many new things, so many new ideas in the form of political, social, cultural and religious development. But again we lack seriously the additional material to gather information in the form of a script, in the form of language. So the system prevailed was what? Communicating one thing to another person used to reside. This becomes the tradition, this became the system. Only the concept of knowledge evolved, concept of writing of knowledge evolved during the time of 6th century BC. This is one of the significant time, this is one of the significant era, because this was the intellectual movement, and this intellectual movement was against the fundamentalist, against the traditional, against the primitive, rigid practices of religion. And this rigid practices of religion was not looking very much fruitful, was not looking very much wealthy, was not looking very much healthy to prosper the society, to prosper the people apart from that too. So, the people from the upper strata of the caste system, and they were the Kshatriyas, and these Kshatriyas reacted against the strong, rigid rituals, a strong, rigid tradition, a strong, rigid system of way of life. And this reactionary idea evolved an idea of intellectualism, and that idea of intellectualism based on the pragmatism, pragmatic ideas, pragmatic approach, pragmatic methodology. And this pragmatic ideas and this pragmatic approach and ideology evolved with the ideas of development of materialism. And this materialism created a material culture, and that material culture paved the way for the formulation of, for the development of, for the structuring of what we can say that a big, huge empire. And first time in the history of India during this reign period, the system of dynastic rule came to existence. So the dynasty, according to historicity, it was Haryak dynasty, Hurrian dynasty, Bimbisara and all. And after that, a dynasty came to prominence and got hold over the complete Indian regions, complete India. And this dynastic rule was normally corroborated with the name of the traditional rulers and dynasty, Maurya, Chandragupta Maurya. So the tradition, many rulers came and ruled over here, but the title they adopted from the very beginners, those who led the foundation of this empire, Chandragupta Maurya and Mauryan Empire and Mauryan period. In this thing, my friend, one thing I would like to make it in a very clear way and a very clear sense that Buddhism and Jainism evolved. And all these religion, both the religions, Buddhism and Jainism, they were against that ideas of rigid practices of religious and cultural life. They based on the idea of pragmatism. Due to their pragmatism, as well as the experimental materialist philosophy, philosophical and the approach, they conceived that in an idea of religion based on willingness to the common mass, common people. And they led to the evolution, and they led to an idea of centralized empire who can look after, who can manage the people of the country to live happily, progress happily, unite in their ideas and approach, and a formidable empire under which a complete system evolved. A complete system, as it is the impact of civilization, a complete system evolved. And this complete system is social system, political system, economic system, cultural system. This system was also prevail in Indus Valley civilization, but we lacked seriously the written records and materials regarding that part of it. That is the significant part of it. That is important thing that you should have to keep in your mind. And as I discussed to you regarding these part of it, these complete ideas regarding all the development has taken place for the purpose of these things. So, I am making a link. There is no, you can say that, gaps between such kind of thing. I am making a links. I am creating an idea to learn, for learning to you, to understanding easily to you that how this Indus Valley civilization, ideas of Indus Valley civilization makes a sense of continuity. So most of the time, one concept you will have to keep in your mind. Any cultural development, any architectural development, any social development which evolves, the roots behind is religion. The roots behind them is what? An ideology of thought process, of way of life that is completely connected with religion and philosophy of religion. Always keep in mind, these are the fundamental roots. And these roots creates the thought process of man, and this thought process of man functions, and it comes out with results. So what type of house a person possesses, it shows the person's thought process, person's thinking. That is the moot point. If you talk about the monuments, constructors designed or built up by so many big rulers, from Taj Mahal to Qutub Minar, then the Maurya palaces, and so many more. That shows that the mindset of a person, the thought process of a person, the liking of a person, the suitability of the persons too. This is the fundamental things, my friend, you should have to keep in your mind while writing the answer, while doing the exposition, whatever the things are going to be asked in your civil services, either mains examination, prelims examination, or writing any kind of essay part of it. These are the concept. These are the fundamental facts based on conceptual concepts and ideology you should have to keep in your mind. So the first I am making a takeoff. You can say that, taking the moot point to make the things in a purposeful way. What is that? In the Indus Valley civilization, the concept of Yakshni, the concept of mother goddess evolved. And even though during the time of Mauryan period, during the time of Buddha, again we find the images of Yaksh and Yakshni. We find the images of mother goddess. We find the images of Yaksh and Yakshni. We find that. But during this time, it was an era of intellectualism. It was an era of reform, social reform, cultural reform. So during this period, their ideas were so much open. Buddhist ideas were so much open. Jain ideas were so much open that they mixed up, they absorbed with the existing situation, and the restriction of rigid goddesses or worship, and what we can say that a strict discipline system were over, and it was a system of multiple form of worship. It is what the worship began in a form of a you can say purpose way. It emerges, and this idea led to the idea of what we can say that the idea of Buddhism and Jainism. And this Buddhism and Jainism were patronized by the dynastic ruler. So this, how this evolved, how this developed, this Buddhist idea, this Jain idea were patronized by the dynastic important rulers. And these ideas of patronism led to the cultural development of this period and cultural development of this age. At this age, a formidable empire, a magnificent empire came to prominence with two big names. It was Chandragupta Maurya, and after that it was Ashoka the Great. So the big empire came to the prominence by this way, and the dynastic rule also started by this way. The patronized religion has also taken proper shape. On the basis of that religion, the tradition has also taken shape, and it has taken shape and it contributed its shape in the form of different cultural activity. And these cultural activities developed in the way of making big palace, in the way of making caves, in the way of making stupas, in the way of making pillars kind of things too. That came to the prominence, and this is the way the beginning of the genesis of the Mauryan art evolved. And as I told you, as I communicated you, as I made you aware about that, this is the age, this is the period where the real history of writings, history of description, history in a form of text, apart from history from archaeological sources. History from what? History from archaeological sources. Archaeological evidences begins from this time. So we have to gather two very strongest thing, and one of the important foremost strongest thing which gives the details about the information of the Mauryan art and architecture, Mauryan cultural development. There were two major texts, and the two major texts in this connections were what we can say that Agni and Garud Puran. These were the two major texts, and another text was Matsya Puran. Agni and Garud Puran, and another one is what? Matsya Puran and Bhavishya Puran. So these were four texts. These were four major texts. In the first text, Agni and Garud Puran, they give an elongated ideas, a detailed ideas about 20 types of building and architecture. If you talk about Matsya Puran and Bhavishya Puran, it has given the details about 20 type of architecture, 20 types of building that designed and developed and came to the prominence. These were the two major written sources are available to justify, to make the information not on the basis of conjecture, not on the basis of probability, as we are continually describing in the light of only single-handed written material and written material sources. Here we also find a major text in this connection. Another important sources regarding this one, apart from This is what we can say, that these are indigenous resources. These are what we can say, these are indigenous. These are completely Indian. These sources are completely Indian. Even though the famous Greek ambassador Megasthenes, who also visited and stayed in the court of Mauryan Empire, he also provides their testimonials. He also corroborated a collective, you can say, material, and also it is also given in the form of text. He also highlighted about the Mauryan art. It was one of the important art, one of the mature art, one of the beautiful art. Even though he praised a lot and he corroborated about, he also talked about the multi-pillared hall, which is now located in Bihar, Patna, Didarganj. The condition is completely desolated. The condition is completely, the stage is completely at ruined stage. But he made the descriptions about that too. This was wooden gilded, that hall which was constructed, designed and developed during the Chandragupta Maurya period. It was during the Mauryan period. It was a multi-pillared hall. It was wooden gilded. Just imagine about that too. If it is wooden gilded, it means a new technology evolved. If you can compare with the technology evolved, you can compare it, the methods or methodology evolved during the Indus Valley civilization period. So it is again what we can say, that different. It looks completely different. So far technicalities are concerned, it is again a different part of that too, according to this Megasthenes or foreign resources. That is one of the important part of it. Second thing, that is very much significant part for the development and growth of this Mauryan architecture. It is not the part of our heritage or culture part, but this proved instrumental in developing an empire and building a region of the Magad regions. The important thing which play a very instrumental role, or what we can say that technical role, what was that? The tools which evolved made of iron. So the iron technology came to prominence during 600 BC. This is one of the remarkable development of this period, and this should not forget. This should not, never, because it contributed in a big way. It contributed in a larger way. As I'm evaluating the whole scenario from beginning to this times too. So the first metal discovered by the mankind, it was copper. That was the Chalcolithic age. The other metal, not we can say completely only single metals, several metals, and the science of metallurgy also evolved, and the science of metallurgy came to the prominence with the ideas, with the things, with its prominence were what? It was bronze technology. So the discovery of tin, then copper, then silver, gold, so many things came to prominence. But the major performance performed by this technology was bronze technology. And after the advancement of, due to its climatic conditions, the third metal discovered by mankind and used by mankind was what? It was iron. So my friend, from point of view of civil services, those who are appearing and aspirants of civil services examination, they should also learn this way, that it may be the part of your question, which metal first used by the mankind, because that paved the way, that helped a lot of designing, developing, carving and building and minting different kind of art and crafts, different kind of buildings, different kind of, you can say, images and portraits. So the role of technology, the role of different tools are quite different and distinct, and it helped in a larger way. So the role of iron was very significant. The role of iron was very, very important for developing a formidable empire. In the very beginning, this was iron technology. This was iron that helped a lot of making the forest clear. This was the technology, this was the equipment which was used for the warring purpose. Again, it was metal, it was again iron. It is quite significant part of that. Again, it was iron and the major technology that helped running the machinery of a, you can say that, of an economy of a country. And the first, it is again very important part of, we can say that, our heritage and culture. Because in archaeology or the finding of the sources, numismatic evidences, the part of numismatics are also very significant and important. That shows about the language, that shows about the god and goddesses. The images shows about the king and princess. And it is what? It is again the part of contributing the system of the prevailing condition of time. So again, during 6th century BC and up to the period of the Mauryan period, first time the indigenous Indian coins came to the prominence, and these were known as punched mark coin. Punched mark coins. And the significant feature of these punched mark coins were, what is that? It was not well shaped. It was a D-shaped coin. It was a D-shaped coins and generally made from silver. Largest number of them we find in the form of silver. Then on what we can say that copper minted part of it too. And normally if you talk about the images, certain images of very liberal objects, very rational objects, like leaves of a tree, like what we can say that images of certain animals too. So punched mark coin also came to the prominence during this period. This is again one of the significant part, one of the important part of the, you can say that, art of the Mauryan period and development purpose of this time. So the important thing that is to be noted down, and that is to learn in this interactive session, that the sources, 5 major sources. One is Megasthenes, another one is Agni and Garud Puran, another one was Matsya and Bhashya Puran, Matsya and Bhashya Puran. And one of the important book you should have to retain for your prelims point of view. The major book is what? Manasara. Manasara is one of the important books available during the time of the Mauryan period. This book explain about art and architectural development during the Mauryan period, and this is one of the important sources which express about the details of the Mauryan period, of how this architectural development has taken place. So again, this is one of the major important, what we can say, that written material, that is the part of your importance and significant part of this. From PT point of view, say, you do remember this kind of questions may be asked to you. Another important factor you should have to keep in your mind, because we have switched over the topic which were only associated with Indus Valley civilization. Now switching over to this period, now switching over to this era, what major developmental process has taken place, what way it changes the idea, what way it developed the idea, what were the major additional points of this period. The additional thing that we should have to keep in our mind, and you should have to note down in your copy, and you should have to retain that, what are the significant changes, what are the major significant changes that was taken place, that was taken shape during that period. It is what? The use of a stone started. What is significant part? What major changes taken place? The use of a stone started at the time of Ashoka. That is one thing, that is one of the important prominent thing that is to be noted down. What is that? The use of a stone started. This is point number one. Point number two is what? This period and this era, according to the written records, according to the written materials, it also highlighted, it also explains about the technical perfection. What is that? Technical perfection. This is what? Technical perfection. We don't find during the, if you compare it from the Indus Valley civilization, and this is very much important from main points of view that you should have to understand, you should have to keep in your mind, what were the basic changes, what were the technical changes, what were the changes in the ideas, what were the changes in the ideas of exposing or executing the pictures, the images, the painting patterns too. So in that scenario, I have already expressed to you, I have already given you the details and idea that it was anatomical clarity. So anatomical clarity is a different and distinct part, and technical perfection is another distinct and technical part. It is what technical perfection means. Whatever the instruction given to you, whatever the requirements you have, whatever the vision in your mind, according to your wish and whim, according to your requirement, according to the need, if this kind of architecture, of this kind of building, portrait and wood, whatever so far it is, it is developed and designed. It is called technical perfection. So perfection is what? A perfect. It is well calculated, it is well designed, it is very well exposed, it is very well balanced. So true thing, what is the first one? First one is that use of a stone started at the time of Ashoka. Technical perfection was another significant part of it. And the third important thing you should have to keep in your mind, what is that? It is again supported by the idea of what? Maturity in tradition. So the mature tradition means a convention. If it is all the time in practice, if it is all the time in tradition, what exactly it is? It becomes the idea of what we can say that became the maturity. Maturity shows that a completely balanced, a completely decisive. So that is what it is, mature. Mature means it is executing an idea which is very well accepted, and there is no scope of finding out any shortcomings. That is the idea of mature and tradition. And another important part is what? That it is Masonic tradition. Important thing you have to keep in your mind. What is that? Masonic. So Mason work. So the first time in the history of Indian architectural development, the Masons became the integral part of building as a maker, as a supporter, as a support system. So the tradition of Mason means the people who work, who pays their attention, who provide services for designing, developing, making a building, that is Mason work. And it became a tradition. It means these are the permanent, these are the regular people. These people from traditionally, they are doing these work. You can say that since their ancestors. So this is what it became the tradition, because the practices of building houses, the practices of building new, you can say that objects or new things that is related to the habitation, that is related to what we can say that cities, construction, palaces and all that too. That is why it is Masonic tradition. So Masonic tradition also evolved during this period. So this is one of the important thing which evolved, developed during the Mauryan era, during the Mauryan period. Now moving ahead, you should have to understand about that what way and through which ideas these mature Mauryan architecture evolved, developed and also prosper. How it made their contribution in our heritage, in our complete system of life. That is to be introspected, that is to be evaluated, that is to be read out with the ample evidences available with us in the form of archaeology, in the form of books, in the form of texts. That is important part you have to keep in your mind. The Mauryan architecture, this architecture is grouped, the complete development of Mauryan art, Mauryan architecture. This is grouped into 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The four major sections are there to understand in an elaborate way, to understand the technicality, why this evolved, why this developed, and what were their purpose, and what way significantly it is one of the important part of our heritage and culture. So, the first one section kept under stupas. The second section comes under pillars. The third section comes under caves. And the fourth sections come under palaces. This is huge, big buildings. These are the four sections. These are the four sections. Under this fourth section, you will have to understand about that too. What way, what were the methods, what were the ideas through which all these cultural development, all these architectural development, all these monumental development has taken place. So, in this way, in this idea, you could learn in a very analytical way. And this is the way that you would be able to answer the question in the preliminary examination, in the mains examination, or you can other way develop, enrich your knowledge. Before beginning to any part of the system, normally people used to say, and it is a very common man question, and it is a very common man question and answer booth. It is all the thing related to our, what we can say that, cultural heritage part. It also shows about our cultural unity. It also expresses about our cultural identity. If a question comes to you, a simple question comes to you, what is the national, what is our national flower? What is our national flower? What is our national animal? What is our national bird? What is our national fruit? And what is our national emblem? You delete fruits. Instead of that, what is that? National emblem. First, second, third and fourth. Okay? A simple question I have put down to you to making this my session very much interactive. We are talking about national flower. We are talking about national animal. We are talking about national bird. We are talking about national emblem. So these all the national insignia, these all the national, you can say that emblem and the national identity. These all the things available in Ashokan pillar. If you talk about the pillar of Ashoka, you will find all sort of things available with Ashokan pillar. So just imagine about that too. What is our cultural heritage? The cultural heritage we have drawn out We have taken from our tradition, and this our tradition is Ashokan culture, Mauryan culture, Ashoka's time, and everything is the part of that system. So, this critical view you should have to keep in your mind. And this, on the basis of this critical view, on the basis of this criticality, everything can be ascertained, and you could manage to develop your knowledge, you can manage to enhance your knowledge from UPSC point of view and the point of view of what? Cultural heritage. That is the significant part of that. On the basis of that, the Mauryan art should be learned, and the Mauryan art's contribution you have to keep in your mind. And another important thing I have discussed in my early classes also, that it is the part and parcel of survival and continuity, and where prevailed in the past, it is still existing in our life system. Now come to the point of what? The significant part of that. It is stupas. Come to the point of what? Come to the point of stupas. If we talk about the stupa, a very common question comes to civil services examination regarding this kind of things too. So these stupas are located in the different regions of India. If you talk about the famous Sanchi Stup, it is, if you talk about the Sanchi Stupa, it is a matter of Madhya Pradesh. If you talk about the Stupa of Amravati, it is located in the south region, Nagarjuna Konda. If you will talk about Bharut, it is the part of Bodh Gaya. So these are the famous one. And the normal question comes to you many times, in which state these stupas are located or placed. This is a common question. Another question maybe arises regarding that purpose of a stupa. So, if you talk about stupas, so stupas come in a different way. Or Sanchi Stupa, Amravati and Bharut, these are another important part of what we can say that architectural development. So, the concept is what? Again, religious. The concept of making this a stupa, it is what? It is religious. And the significant part of this stupa, just I am going to make a simple layout before you. What is that? It was the stupa normally used to structured and used to design. Used to structured and used to designed in a hemispherical way. So it is what? It is used to design in a hemispherical way. This is one of the major concepts behind the stupas. And after developing it in a hemispherical way, what is significant part of that? If you talk about Sanchi Stupa of Madhya Pradesh, in this way, what is that too? It is railing. It is what? It is railing of the Sanchi Stupa, and its height is around 11.12 feet. If we talk about the circumference of this stupa, it is around 12.2 feet circumference. If you talk about the heights of this stupa, it is 77.12. It is the structural design of the stupa. Another important feature of this stupa is what? Which is the part of your examination question. It is what? In all these panels, the images of God and goddesses are shown. The images of God and goddesses are shown. Images are shown. Very beautiful pictures are shown. And the entrance are also shows in a very beautiful way. Entrance are also shows in a very beautiful way. So, this Sanchi Stupa is one of the remarkable feat of the Mauryan architecture. It is founded by, it is designed by, it was developed at the time of Ashoka, and Ashoka got built this. This Sanchi Stupa of Madhya Pradesh, it got built, it was designed by, it was developed by, it was developed during the time of Ashoka, and Ashoka developed it. And the unique feature and the remarkable thing from prelim's point of view, what is that? This was built with bricks and stones. Both the things were utilized in this. And it was later on also extended. It was later on also extended. And when this was extended, when it was extended, the boulders, what is that? The stone was also utilized. So what is significant part of the construction of the building of this Sanchi Stupa? You have to remember two major things. In the early part I discussed that first time a stone was used. Apart from the stones, bricks were also used during this time, and Ashoka got built, Ashoka designed, developed this. The contribution goes to Ashoka itself regarding developing this architectural progress and this architectural idea. One more thing, if you talk about Bharut, again the same thing has been depicted like that too. And this is completely a religious architecture. Why it is, what is the significance of it? You should know about the significant part of it is what? The first one thing, it is normally known that the relic of Buddha must be there. The relic of Buddha, I mean to say that the tooth of Mahatma Buddha, the hair of Mahatma Buddha, some important thing that was very much useful, that was very much purposeful, that was very much matter of importance to the Buddha's life, that used to kept in that stupas. So we find it is one of the important part of architectural development. Why it is very significant? It is hemispherical in shape. It is hemispherical in shape. Sanchi Stupa, the basic structure which I already discussed to you, that it is hemispherical. So I would like to give you a complete structure, not in a rough pattern way. It is the basis, it is the basic ideas on which this structure has been designed and developed. So the brief thing I would like to highlight you, because in my early lecture, the rough sketch work I have already designed, I have already given in my early lecture. Here is what? It is the exact, it is what we can say the exact from examination point of view. The question normally used to ask, what is that? If you talk about this too, it is what? It is hemispherical. The shape is what? It is hemispherical. As it was designed, developed by Ashoka, the first part, it was developed in the beginning. At this time, this was made up of what we can say that is stone. And this is called Vedic or Medhi. If you talk about this one, this is what we can say that this is the boundary wall. And this is called Vedika. This is called Vedika. And the part of the section between the two boundaries, if you talk about that, this is the part of the two boundaries. It is called Medhi. And this part is called Anda. This is A-N-D-A, another. That is called part of Anda. Another important significant part is what? The beautification of what we can say that entrance site. So all the site we will find that this is what we can say that well decorated gateway. So in this entrance, if you talk about that, beautiful pictures of the images, different type of idol has been exposed in that. And again after that, it is what? The pillar of Ashoka has also been shown in a magnificent and beautiful way. Another important thing which is noticeable from this purpose, it is what? Chhatri. It is what? It is saying that the size of this circle is going to reduce as it advances from top to bottom, or what we can say that from the base to the upper section, the sizes of the chhatris, the sizes of this one is going to be reduced. So this way it is reducing. Another important point is what? It is a pillar like things, and in this pillar all these things has been elongated, and it is again a square base. It provides stability to the system. And one remarkable thing you will find that it is Hermica. This is what we can say that this is Hermica. And again, the same pattern has been followed. This is pattern number 1. This is again pattern number 2. This is again what we can say that pattern number 2. What is that? This shows the resemblance. This shows the balance. And this shows the real artistic skills. This shows the real, you can say that artistic skills. This shows the real maturity of skills. And this is what we can say that the perfection of mason works which evolved and developed, and it has been shown in Shanti Stupa. Another significant part is that what the early section was developed and designed during the time of Ashoka, and in that period the you can say a stone was used, and after that it was extended part. And this extended part, normally they used, you can say, bricks. Not bricks at all, it is a stone. It is bricks of what we can say that baked bricks, very solid bricks. And one more thing, if you talk about this entrance site, this is entrance site, and these entrance site was also very well decorated. It is decorated with the images of idols. It is decorated with the images of different kind of idols. Another important thing that is highlighted in this Paradikshana Path. It is what? It is the way. If you talk about north, if you talk about south, if you talk about east, and if you talk about west. So this western part looks like a Paradakshina Path. So again it is a balance. If you see this one, this is the balance part of this, And again, this is the balance pass of this one too. Again, the same thing, same feature you will find in the another sections which is hidden in this part. So on the whole, what important again, it is again, this pillar is again balancing the theme of this semi-spherical aspect of that. So this is one of the mature, one of the established, one of the, you can say that, advanced maturity of work shown and reflect in the time of Ashoka's description and Ashoka's architectural development. And this architectural development actually one of the important part of our Indian heritage sections, and this shows this is the part. What is that? It is mason work. It is what a balancing work of Vedika or Medhi part of it. So this is one of the simplest way that you can understand in your examination point of view, and you must understand about that what exactly the entrance sense is known as Torana. This is what we can say, the gaps are known as Medhi, this style was known as Vedika, and this section, internal section, was known as Harmika, and this is what we can say, that Chhatri, and this is Pradikshanapat. It is again one of the symbolic and important part of the development of this Mauryan architecture. And this is a significant part, and this is one of the important aspect and feature of Mauryan maturity of art, Mauryan technical skill, archaeological skills, and their vision. The complete base, if you talk about the theme and base of that, what is that? It is completely religious based, and the style also is very much cultural aspect of that too. It is hemispherical in shape. Again, a beautiful design was carved out, developed design. It is architectural progress. It is architectural maturity. It is important Masonic works. It is important, what we can say that, it is important stability of the empire. And perfection. What exactly is that? Perfection of skills. What is perfection? They wanted to got built. They wanted to got built. What is that? 11-meter height of this, what we can say that this balcony, it is what? It is 11-meter high. So it is 11 meter. The circumference is, if it is 12.5 feet circumference, it should be 12.5 feet. So this is the idea of accuracy. This is the idea of what we can say that technical skills, and what we can say that maturity is also the part of that. So this is the reason why this period was known as what we can say that the period of perfection of what we can say a skill, Masonic work, and technical skill was the part of that too. This is important thing. One more thing, it is the part of information. Ashoka almost, and I think it looks a bit exaggerated figure, Ashoka constructed on and around 84,000 stupas. And this stupa keeps a very strong, significant part of what we can say that religious idea is religious and cultural communication, impressing the people, involving the people, influencing the people through the idea of what we can say that religious outlook. One important significant part and it is again the part of the complete our heritage part. It is what Ashoka corroborated the idea of Dhamma, and the meaning of Dhamma is to win the heart of people. How to win the heart of people, how to satisfy the people, how to convince the people with their thought, with their ideas and with their principles. So in this way, Ashoka didn't only given the message in the ideas of religious matter regarding the ideas of Dhamma, a state policy. Under that idea, Ashoka has also given to be credited. What is that? That he also wanted to develop the domain of art and architecture. This is the noticeable feature. And this important, significant point should be exposed, should be written while the question for the mains examination is going to be asked. Because without any this ethical, without any this moral, without any this valuable part of that, there is not the possibility that you can give a very strong imprint on the thought of the man, on the thinking process of the man, on the valuable part of the man's life. It is not possible. It was not possible at all in any respect or any kind. So Ashoka, the way he has the spirit, the way he adopted the idea of communicating, propagating or involving with the ideas of Dhamma, the unity of mind, the unity of thought, the living system in a close knit, without the idea of architectural monumental development or making an impact of that, it was not a successful part of it. So that is the significant part. You will notice, you have noticed also, the development was a stupa in the form of Sanchi stupa, in the form of Amravati stupa, in the form of Bharut stupa. All these were designed, developed under a very strong Masonic work, under very strong perfectional skills. One more thing also noticeable, that we also find the term Tumulai, T-U-M-U-L-A-I, Tumulai. Very rarely this term emerges. Actually, this is also a part of symbol. This is also very much symbolic from the point of view of propagation of Buddhism, from the point of view of significance of Buddhism. There were many places available at that time. That construction, developing a big building like a Sanchi stupa, it was not possible at all. So at that place a small identity kind of thing was prevailed, and it is called Tumulai. So Tumulai has a close affinity with what we can say that Buddhism. And if you talk about the stupa, a stupa has close affinity with what? Buddhism and Jainism both. It is not like that only Buddhism, but Jainism too, a stupa kind of identity kind of things too. So it was prevailed during this period. So this is one section, this is one part of what we can say that the part of Mauryan architecture in which you have studied about stupas, and this stupas in the latter part, again the another section that is again the important section of what we can say that to understand about the Mauryan architecture, and that is the part of our heritage. It is It is the section of, it is the part of pillar. Pillar also played a very significant role in developing and building our heritage part. Another thing is what? Pillar. And you can also say about pillar or pillars. It is very significant and it reflects the complete, what is that? The complete mechanism of thought of system, culture and religion. It exposes a complete ideas of technical skills, technical maturity. The whole thing, the whole part corroborated under this connection, corroborated under this scene. So the whole things, the whole part also incorporated with this scene and ideas of what we can say that pillars, the development of pillar architectures part 2. If you talk about the pillar, the basic idea to understand about a pillar is segregated under 5 parts. It is segregated under 5 parts. A pillar, it is segregated under 5 parts. So, you can look here what way these 5 parts are. 5 parts are separated and how it is going to formulate the idea. In the first part, we looks Loin capital. It is Loin capital. In the second part, we find again a base prepared. Again a base prepared with the ideas of what we can say that ideas of all the 24 spokes with wheel. The third section, again it is beautifully designed on the pattern of what we can say that abacus. It is inverted lotus. It is what? It is inverted lotus. The fourth part again shown in a beautiful and polished. It is what? It is quite beautiful and it is polished stone. And it is a monolith, a single stone boulder. It is what? It is a single monolith. It is what? It is single monolith. It is a boulder. And the base part, what we find? We find a stand, base-like thing. On the basis of that, the complete system, the complete pillar is involved. So this is one of the unique feature. This is one of the unique counterpart we find during the Ashoka's pillar. So the pillar of Ashoka can be studied under these architectural development process and architectural development line. Again, I'm making the things in a purposeful way. If you talk about one very important and significant things through which you used to say that it is Loin capital. It is It is loined. It is loined capital. It is what? It is the eyes of a tiger, and this is not like this. It is from the four-sided. This is not like this. It is from the four-sided. So all the sides. It is you can say that loin. Okay, this is the first section. This should comes under the first section. This is what? This is the first section. In the second section, what we see, in this second section, what we see, it is what? It is the wheel. And this wheel is corroborated with 24 scopes. And apart from that, these are the lines associated with that. So this is what? This is the second part of it. And the third part, what is that? The third part. If you talk about the third part, it is what? It is inverted lotus. Apart from that inverted lotus, what you can see, what you can look behind this, it is structured like a uniform pillar. It is what? It is structured like a uniform, beautiful pillar. And after that, what we can say, we find a proper, what is that? We find a proper platform base. On the basis of that, the complete pillar is structured. This is the unique feature. This is what we can say that this is the unique part. This is the unique part we notices. This is the unique part we notice many times from what we can say that Ashoka's pillar. And this is one of the significant part. If you talk about this one, that is beautifully designed. It is beautifully shined. You will find this is completely polished. And these were the tradition in the Persepolis style, when the stone, a single boulder stone was chiseled, and after chiseling this stone used to be brushed up, and it looks like a light, it looks like a shining kind of things too. So this is what we can say that Ashokan pillar. It is available to, you can say that, the places and the things. It has a very meaningful purpose, and it gives us very strong message. So this is unique feature. This is what we can say that this is the perfection of art, and this is again the perfection of a strong Masonic work. Now studied about this one, it is what? It is again loin capital. These all the, you can say that national emblems is associated with these connections. If you talk about this wheel, it has a strong connections. This is the wheel, spokes are 24. This has a very strong connection with, when Ashoka got enlightenment, it has a strong religious background, cultural background. When Ashoka got enlightenment, after getting enlightenment, Ashoka getting enlightenment, Ashoka reached to Hiranyavatika. It is in Uttar Pradesh. It is in Uttar Pradesh. Hiranyavatika, it is in Uttar Pradesh. Ashoka, after getting enlightenment, where he got enlightenment? Again the place is Bodh Gaya. I have already elaborated, I have already discussed about that. That moved to, from Bodh Gaya to Ashoka moved to Hiranyavatika, Sarnath. After reaching at that place, Mahatma Buddha given his first sermon, and this sermon was called Mahadharma Chakra Parivartan. Mahadharma Chakra Parivartan. This was the philosophical idea, this was the Buddhist ideas of cosmological thought. And according to the interpretation of thought, the world is like a wheel. The world is rotating. The world is moving like a wheel. And through the process of wheel, through the methodology of wheel, after day, the night is inevitable. After night, the day is inevitable. And the system of life, after dukkha there is sukha, after the pain there is pleasure. So this is what? This is complete a cycle. This is a complete cycle which revolves the complete human life cycle, complete the life system of climatology and the life system of what we can say that where the mankind evolved, where the mankind survived, where the mankind live. This is the message of Ashoka. And this message of Ashoka, it is a wheel, and the wheel is rotating all the time, 24 hours. And this wheel is also the sign of progress. This wheel is also the sign of progress, the sign of what we can say movement, the sign of what we can say, you can say elongation of progress. It is what? A progressive ideas. And this is depicted. This is depicted on Ashokan pillar. This is the one important significant part of that. That is why this 24 spokes wheel also we use in our national flag. Again, this is significant part of that. So, this Ashokan pillar reflects the heritage part that it contributed in the making of the constitutional symbolic part in a very magnificent, in a very big way. That is the part of it. Another important thing, what is that? This is abacus. It is also called inverted lotus. It is what? Inverted lotus. It is called inverted lotus. If you talk about the things regarding inverted lotus, it is again very much symbolic. It is again very much symbolic. If you talk about the lotus, if you go through the genesis of the lotus, what is that? Before the birth of Mahatma Buddha, her mother dreams. She dreamed like an elephant is presenting in his snoot the flower that is lotus. So again it is very much symbolic. Again it is very, very important. Again this symbol of lotus that is identified with our national flower. It is what? Our national flower. And our national flower, it is our completely religious cultural base. And another important thing, that is what we can say the pillar. if you talk about what that too, it is a unique feature that in India, the architectural progress, the architectural development, all the time taken place with the ideas of different views and vision. In this, the concept of single monolith, do remember the concept of single monolith. A big stone boulder is cut down and chiseled down. After cutting and chiseled down, it is very well polished. It is very well, you can say, it is very well adjusted with the system, very well designed with the system. And this finally give a shape of a beautiful way. And if you go through the ideas of Ashokan pillar or pillar at Allahabad, and the pillar, it is again in a distorted form, it is available in Didarganj, Patna. It is a beautiful part we find in this connection of Ashoka. And another, the fourth part, it is again the part which provided a complete stability to the system, stability to the ideas of this part of that. This shows that, this signifies that a very strong platform is needed, and this is evolved only due to architectural or Masonic progress during this time, during this period. So this is important part that is noticeable all the time. Even though the pillar also played a very significant part of politico-administrative system of Ashoka. This pillar is not only, you can say that, very beautifully carved out things. So many messages used to also engrave in this, what we can say that, in this pillar part too. And this happens to be the message communicated by the kings, by the ruler, etc. And the pillar, we have also find out so many pillar from Romandai to Manshera, and so many pillar edicts. And these pillar edicts also gives strong messages to the mass, messages to the people. This also signifies that the extension of empire was taken place to the, you can say that, long gone regions, big regions. So this also shows about the boundaries. And one more noticeable thing, Ashoka founded the city of Srinagar, Kashmir. That is again, Ashoka was, you can say, builder in this part. And that city, Srinagar, Kashmir,